Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. The Raptors 905 win in very exciting fashion. We got the film breakdown for you. We got a little bit of Ulrich Chomche action. Been wanting to see this young kid play, and he didn't score a single point tonight, but that doesn't mean that he didn't do nothing tonight. He did a lot of interesting stuff, and you know that I have an eye of a scout, and I caught a lot of cool things that he did. The Toronto Raptors have a lot of interesting players in their 905 program. Uh, Tony is saying Rob in the G League chat was gold. Awesome. Yes, there were a bunch of sickos in the Raptors G League chat. And if you're like, Rob, G League game, where was that? It was on YouTube, man. It was on YouTube. Jonathan saying, anyone know if the box score is available? Well, it's a good thing you asked, my friend, because it is available. It's right here. And the Toronto Raptors win on a buzzer beater. It was incredible. I mean, honestly, we're here, man. We're here. This is the G League. This is the Raptors 905. They start out 1-0. 1-0. It's winning. It's about winning. Let's start with the Masai Ujiri stuff. It's winning. It's about winning. Okay, well, winning starts in the G League. Okay. The Raptors have some players of consequence in the G League. Most importantly, DJ Carton and Ulrich Chomche. Jamison Battle did not play tonight. They were up against the Delaware Bluecoats, who, to those of you who don't know or not familiar with the G League, that is the Philadelphia 76ers affiliate. And currently they have Jeff Doughton. Jeff Doughton did not play tonight because the Sixers are super undermanned, and he is currently playing with the Sixers. Cass saying W vibes, Rob. I'm happy. I'm happy to see a win. I don't know when we're going to see another Raptors win. So I am happy to see a Raptors 905 win, and especially one in such exciting fashion. Okay, look, I understand that some people don't like to watch the G League, as evidenced by the fact that this is a free streaming. This was a free stream that streamed in Canada and Mexico, and at no point were there more than 300 people in there. And this was the season opener. This was a damning indictment of how unpopular the G League is, and frankly, it breaks my heart because this is professional basketball, and I understand that people have better things to do on their Saturday night, but honestly, no, like, you don't have better things to do than to watch Ulrich Chomche guard three-time NBA champion Patrick McCaw on a switch. You don't have better things to do than that. I'm sorry. I don't care what you're doing with your life. You just don't have better things to do with that. Okay. So in terms of the Raptors tonight, Brandon Carlson, obviously, he was a two-way guy. He gets cut, goes to the G League. Jamison Battle. I saw nothing tonight that makes me doubt that decision, but Brandon Carlson was cool tonight, man. He had 16 points, 14 rebounds. It's weird to say someone had 16 points and 14 rebounds and you feel like they didn't have the greatest game. I don't think he had the greatest game, but he had 3 blocks. His vision was really cool tonight. There were some good plays with him where he showed some like good court awareness. Still feels like he's still catching up to his body, and his body is still catching up to the speed of professional basketball. But you see the vision, right? Like the shot looks smooth. Didn't go super smooth tonight. 1 for 6, 6 for 15 from the field, but he was launching them, man. Same place, top of the key, top of the paint, top of the key. What am I saying? He was launching them from above the break. He had no problem with it, man. He's just like pulling them. He doesn't care. All right. SP saying wave Fernando, convert Battle, sign Carlson to a two-way. You're on this. Okay. Personally, I'm not too concerned about this. Brandon Carlson is 25 years old. He should be dominating the G League, but it's worth noting, who was he up against? Well, he was up against Isaiah Mobley. And Isaiah Mobley is the guy who's logged some NBA minutes, right? It's weird, you don't see these guys for a while. Justin Edwards, right? Isaiah Mobley, Judah Mintz, Patrick McCaw. You're like, man, I know about all these guys. It's not a bunch of nobodies. There's a lot of guys that we've scouted before. Jeff Doughton, right? He didn't play tonight, but nevertheless, he is a guy who is, well, he's listed twice on their roster, which is kind of hilarious. But nevertheless, for the Raptors, here's how little I knew. I didn't know Kennedy Chandler was on the team. But it's interesting. He took a lot of shots tonight, and he had 10 assists, 25 points. He was crazy, right? He really looked like he was working at a different level. And Kennedy Chandler, for those of you who don't know, he played for the Tennessee Volunteers in the NCAA. He was a 5-star recruit. And he's not the only Tennessee Volunteer on this team. We'll talk about that later. But Kennedy Chandler broke down the defense whenever he wanted. He had a really cool play that we're going to look at, where he's just kind of shredding the defense. The issues with Kennedy Chandler moving up to the next level really is him as a shooter, right? And he went 1 for 3 from three tonight, and him as a defender. Nobody is doubting whether Kennedy Chandler can do what he did tonight, right? He was a very highly touted player. He had a cup of tea with the Memphis Grizzlies. I believe he signed a four-year deal, and then last year he was with the Nets affiliate. So, Kennedy Chandler, really talented player. But if you're going to play in the NBA as a 6 foot guard, you're going to have to shoot. You have to shoot well, and you're going to have to defend. The playmaking, this is where we're at with the G League, right? If you haven't watched a lot of G League basketball, it's a lot like summer league. There's a lot of guards, and yeah. The Raptors overall, they passed the basketball. They passed the basketball, they moved the basketball pretty fluidly. I thought a lot of good shots were taken, a lot of ugly shots were taken as well. DJ Carton stood out like you wouldn't believe. He got to the paint at will. He shot the piss out of the basketball. I mean, he was 5 for 8 from three at one point. I think he was 5 for 6 from three, and he had 7 assists, 25 points. I thought he was awesome. Dylan Disu, he, you know, I don't know why the minutes are missing, but I think he played about 30 minutes tonight. And Quincy Guerrier, we saw him with the Raptors in the summer league. We saw both these guys in the Raptors summer league, and they both struggled from three. The Raptors overall pretty much struggled from three, other than DJ Carton. Like pretty much it was 33% from the three, and if you take DJ Carton out of it, it's in the 20s. So yeah, it was a tough night, but the Raptors were up big in the second quarter. They went on they won the second quarter 38-21, which was like really cool. And then of course, as these things go, the third quarter they blow it and it's 38-24, and they're holding on to a 1 point lead going into the fourth quarter. And guess what? They hold on to that 1 point lead throughout the game. The game film. You're here for Ulrich Chomche. I'm here. I was there for Ulrich Chomche. I feel like there were 280 people watching, and I felt like 240 were like Ulrich fans. Blake Murphy was in the chat. Shout outs to him. There were a couple of writers in the chat. Shout out to them. It was a lot of sickos, man. It was a lot of like Raptors sickos, like people who just are like, man, I really, really need to see. I need to get my Raptors fixed right now. So let's take a look at the clips. I clipped a lot of cool stuff from this game. So give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. And Tony is saying Chandler had a bad ISO. Yeah, a lot of people were commenting about that. I didn't necessarily mind it as much, but take a look. Here we are. Okay, so here's some early Ulrich Chomche. Okay. It's all potential at this point, man. You're gonna have to be really patient with him. Like it's not going to materialize altogether. I mentioned it like in his pre-draft stuff. Like he's super raw, right? Like this is just him just running up and down the court. Like it's like he gets back and he bothers this shot. And I felt this was worth clipping because I thought maybe this was the highlight of the night for Ulrich. But this was not the highlight of the night for Ulrich because Ulrich did more cool stuff. He did a lot of cool stuff tonight. Okay, give me 1 sec here. Man. He had a huge block, man. He had a couple of really big blocks. Uh AJP saying your screen is really zoomed. I don't know what that means. Do you see that as really zoomed? Anyways, it's shot block time for Ulrich Chomche. Again, his defensive highlights in this game show a lot of promise. Take a look at this. So, again, guard coming down, gonna test him. How do you get up without fouling? And I just love it, man. Like he he is able to sort of shift with the defender. Man, the timing on that, just impeccable. Does anyone else find it really zoomed in? Uh, that's funny. Your screen is really zoomed in, zoomed in. My bad, it's me. That's hilarious. Okay, thanks a lot. And this was another play. Let's go. Where we try to get like you get a window into just how difficult this could be to stop. Just unfortunately, this pass does not get through. So it's an alley oop attempt. We saw him do a lot of this in the summer league, but unfortunately, just that's passing talent. That's also going to be finishing talent at some point. That's also going to be spacing for sure. Kennedy Chandler, I love this play from Kennedy Chandler. This was really cool. So first, catching this cutter going baseline, and then just pressure and boom. This is the stuff that's going to get you onto an NBA roster. Pick up point, pick up 94 feet, be pesky defensively. Like, I mean, I hate to say it as an undersized guard, nobody cares that you can pass. All undersized guards can pass. Marquise Noel, relatively could pass. I will say, as someone who watched quite a bit of Raptors 905 last year, I think the overall philosophy of the game, the overall style of the game was much more entertaining. This is an offensive rebound. Look at how quickly he is able to map the floor. Now, we talk a lot about court mapping. We've talked a lot about court mapping on this channel. Take a look at how aware he is of number 9. Cutting and then, boom, finding the shooter. Right? I think that was just super fast. Like, if you think about like how quickly he's able to process this. Okay, so he catches it at 10.1 and it's out of his hands at 9.4. That's less than 1 second to process this, and I assure you, no slander, if it was Chris Boucher, that's taking longer than 0.6 seconds. Just saying. That's pretty cool. Jade saying, "Will you be doing more 905 coverages?" Honestly, as long as Ulrich is playing for the 905, I will do as many 905 coverages as possible. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here's Ulrich with another block. Get that out of here. Nope. He didn't quite get the block, but you love the timing, right? Like, again, the anticipation. He's a little bit of a ball watcher right now. He's a ball hawk. Like he really, really zeroes in on the ball. And we saw this in summer league too, right? He gets obsessed with the basketball. But that's largely because, I mean, this will be weeded out in the coaching, but you see like the timing, the rotation, right? So you're just like, man, if he can just get like 1 foot over, he's probably blocking that. A little bit more talent. It's not like he lacks the vertical agility to block this. He can block this. He probably just needed to like put it up a little bit, right? So again, I like to notice these things about young players because it shows their reactivity. Like even something like how quickly you pass out off of an offensive rebound, how quickly you spot the advantage. Things like this, honestly, I'm sure that if somebody else is covering this, maybe they don't notice that. They'll notice things like this, though. And this is Brandon Carlson with his lone 3 of the night. And Lord knows he hit him. Like he just kept taking them. It's the same shot over and over and over, and boom. Clearly, someone got in his ear. Take as many of them as you want. This is honestly, we talk about Kennedy Chandler, what's going to get him on an NBA floor. Hitting these threes at a high level is going to get him, Brandon Carlson, on an NBA floor. Now, I loved this defensive possession. By the way, this was not my favorite defensive possession by Ulrich, but this is one of them. Okay, so here he comes. Look at how he gaps between 2 defenders. So the ball handling guard has an advantage now, right? So now technically he's guarding 2 defenders, which is his man, who's the roll man, and then the ball handler. So the ball handler gets a step, and he manages to shield the roll man. So he cuts off the roll, which is awesome. So he tags the roller, and he's able to block the shit out of this basketball. Watch that again. Again, once there is an advantage for the defense, i.e., when the defender is beat, you are now 1-on-2 or 2-on-1, right? Oh shoot. Okay, cool. My bad. there's a couple that have audio. This was one of them, just because I wanted to hear the announcer say that block on Chomche. Okay, watch this in slow motion. Again, the agility, the foot speed, the flexibility, the hip mobility to do this, and then to still recover. And honestly, the cool thing about this block is it's like he could have blocked this with his elbow if he really wanted to. And I don't really see anything stopping him from doing this at the NBA level. There's a lot of shot blockers who succeed in the NBA who have relatively even measurements with him, relatively even timing. So the issue is not whether Ulrich is going to be able to protect the rim at an NBA level. The issue is he going to be able to learn the game well enough to know when he's supposed to do that and when he's supposed to stay home. This was a nifty inbound play here. Brandon Carlson is going to get a dunk and one out of this. Boom. Slips and nice dunk. Nice dunk for Brandon Carlson. Okay. DJ Carton splashing threes. DJ hit 5 threes. This was one of them. This was his 5th one. So this was his this was his 4th one. Carlson, little dribble handoff. Just like Yak and IQ, man. Just like Jakob and IQ. Boom. Little step back and boom. Nice. Didn't know he had this kind of 3-point shooting, to be honest. Like sometimes I look at him and I feel like he's more of a 32% guy, but let's see what he can develop because that'll be his ace in the hole because his first step is dynamite. He gets into the paint like really well. Okay. Now, look at this play. This is my favorite play by Ulrich, and thankfully it is slowed down. Watch how he switches his hips here. Watch how he's able to guard Patrick McCaw to the point where McCaw just falls down. He just gives up on the play. Now, again, if you're a scout, if you're a casual fan, you're probably not going to see any value in this. By the way, if you want to call in quickly and talk about this game, if you watched it, link is in the description. Watch, and again, this is an NBA veteran. This is a 3-time NBA champion. He may not be Lou Williams, he may not be Jamal Crawford, but he's still an NBA guard, and this is still an 18-year-old, very raw rookie. This should be ice skates. This should be Ulrich falls down, right? This should be Patrick McCaw gets a clear blow by. And clearly that's what Patrick McCaw wants to do. But Ulrich is really, really good at moving his feet. His feet are special. His hips are special. Right? Like his ability, just look at his feet here. Like, man, I wish I could zoom in a little bit here. Just hone in on his feet. Hone in on his defensive technique. Man, can I slow this down? Yeah, I can slow this down even more. I'm going to slow this down to like crawl speed. So you can just watch Ulrich's feet on this entire possession. It is actually pretty magnificent. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, 5 step, 6 step, 7 step. And look how he keeps separation. And he keeps the hand up without fouling, no reach, keeps low. He's in his stance. Again, there's a crossover, there's a recovery, there's a little spin, there's like a fake drive, and there's a spin, and there's a recovery. And again, I'm counting. There's no foul. He's learned to do this without fouling, right? The balance and coordination, and it's everything. It's all of it. It is the coordination, it is the anticipation, it is the hand-eye coordination. It's like the motor, the flexibility, the ability to still be able to move as a 7-footer when you get in your stance. Like, do you know how many times Brandon Carlson fell down tonight? Like I was counting. I'm not trying to make a low light out of it. Brandon Carlson's cool, but like he fell down like 3 times tonight. It's difficult to do what he's doing right now. And as an 18-year-old, this is some really impressive shit. Now, I'm going to let you hear it once with the volume because I just need you to absorb this moment. This was really cool.
He has it from outside, gives it to Key for the win. Yes!
Really cool. That was the game winner, 116 to 115. Awesome shot. And thanks to this shot, did a little bit of digging on Tyreek Key. Did you know Tyreek Key was a 4-year player for the Tennessee Volunteers? It was a crazy shot, saying Cass. And did you know he shot 44% from three one of those years? Pretty nifty. Okay. So if we're not going to have callers, I'm going to talk about how to scout because I think that it's important to realize that, there were a lot of people in the chat saying, why is Ulrich not taking 30 shots? Okay. Ulrich is like a ball of clay right now. Like, to put it very bluntly, he's like a ball of clay. He's like all arms, all limbs, all athleticism, all skills, no knowledge of how to play. So many mistakes. I venture to think, what were the Raptors 905 with him on the court? I mean, he was on the court for that very final, 0.2 second heave. He was negative 11 in his minutes. Tyreek Key, ironically, was negative 12. But, you know, like, he was on the court for some pretty big runs from their team in the second quarter. Ulrich played a little bit in the first quarter, towards the end of the first quarter, a little bit in the beginning of the second. Then Delaware went on a run. Then he had some minutes in the third. Again, I don't think that the Raptors really did well in the third with him. So, again, it's not his fault, but he has a long way to go. He has a long way to go as in terms of just understanding the game. Everything's very fast for him. He doesn't know what he's doing. The basketball IQ is probably on par with a 15 or 16-year-old, but the instincts are on par with a high lottery pick. It is one of the weirdest prospects that I think I've ever seen in my life. And it's really easy to get bogged down by the lowlights, where, he's crossing over his feet and, he misreads he misreads a switch and gives up a blow by, or miscommunicates switch at the rim, and suddenly there's a guy going back door, or he's just super obsessed with the basketball and his man back cuts him. And what's impressive is you have to know what you're watching with Ulrich to properly evaluate him. If you're watching him to be an isolation scorer, if you're watching him to be a finisher right now, I'll remind you, these are men. And this is an 18-year-old kid who should be probably coming off the bench in Division 1 right now. It doesn't change where he's going. Where he's going is where he's going. And if you believe me, where he's going is to the moon. Okay? But it's important to realize that as an 18-year-old, you don't just get to walk on the court and be like an impact guy. The fact that he's able to switch his hips with a professional basketball player, like a seasoned pro, like a Patrick McCaw, is crazy. The fact that he is able to take the contact on an Isaiah Mobley, like, I've watched Isaiah Mobley and Evan Mobley for a long time, coming up to AAU ranks with the Compton Magic. That's crazy. I mean, that's a seasoned NCAA player who has years and years of strength, poundage, experience on you. And the fact that you're even able to hold up with him is crazy. Belichick, real one. Eventually project him as a second unit. I don't project him as anything. I mean, like, obviously, like, I'm very, very high on the kid. It's not about second unit or starting. It's just about, like, the process of becoming a better basketball player. Like, you have to learn the game, right? You have to learn how to read what the offense is doing so that the defense can communicate. If you put most professional basketball players right now, like, this is the way I would break down Ulrich. Based on what I know about him, based on all the research, based on all the conversations I've had with people around him, here's what I know about him. So, if you put him one-on-one against, like, an NBA big, I think defensively, he would give them a lot of trouble. One-on-one. Just one-on-one. And that would be pure instinct, motor, tools, that he possesses that, frankly, very few people on the planet possess. Like, he could shut some people down, man. One-on-one. The minute you introduce a second player into that equation, his impact goes down. If you start introducing a 3-on-3 situation, now everything's new. Everything's different. And the minute you make it 5-on-5, now it's all jumbled, right? I've seen this guy really struggle in 5-on-5 settings and, you know, make some really clumsy mistakes, make some mistakes where you're like, did he start playing basketball like a few weeks ago? Like, what's going on here? He's extremely raw, right? Extremely raw. That's just putting it bluntly. But the skills are the skills. Like, what he's able to do physically is just not normal. You're not supposed to be able to do that. It's like up there with like Stromile Swift, who was like a top 3 pick, you know? These are the kind of guys that like in a couple of years you project out and you're like, man, if the development goes right, that's like a top 5 pick. And if the development goes wrong, maybe he's in Russia, right? But you take that swing on upside with the 57th overall pick, right? Like you're not projecting a contributor this year. If again, now here comes the caveat here. He is an extremely smart player. He makes reads and passes that like again, going back to the G League where it's like how did he see that? This is all raw talent. He's spotting an open shooter. He grabs the rebound, he comes down within point 0.6 seconds, he's able to push that gear from his brain to his arm to his hand to throw the pass, and he's able to map it correctly so that he's able to get it through the defense without a turnover. He's gonna be a super high turnover player for, like, a few years. I'll guarantee you that when he starts getting more usage in the G League, he's gonna turn the ball over a lot, he's gonna charge a lot, he's gonna foul a lot. That's just gonna be the process of it, and if you're a casual fan, no offense, you're probably gonna write him off. You're gonna see a game, and he's gonna have 6 fouls, 2 blocks, 6 rebounds, 4 points. You're gonna be like, "What the fuck are we talking about here?" But in the end, you can get really developed with basketball. You can get super schooled on basketball. It doesn't mean you'll ever be like you can take a player like an Isaiah Mobley who is pretty well coached, pretty well pedigreed, but it's not going to change his physical limitations. He can handle the basketball, he can shoot a little bit, he can defend a little bit. He's a pretty good rebounder, but it's not going to change the measurements. It's not going to change his body. It's not going to change the fact that he cannot create consistent advantages at the NBA level. It doesn't change the fact that Ulrich's hips just switch better than his. So you take all that raw potential and you hopefully coach it up step by step, right? I was surprised to see him coming off the bench, if I'm being honest. I was. I thought the Raptors would just run him out in the starting lineup. No, they didn't. They brought him off the bench. They're going to bring him along slowly. Maybe by next year, you're going to see him in summer league, and you're going to see a giant step up. From what I understand about him, all of his steps are going to be giant steps, right? So I don't know when those steps are going to happen, but when they're going to happen, they're going to be really big steps. So maybe at some point you're going to watch an Ulrich game this year or in the summer league where he's going to hit 4 threes, and you're going to be like, wow, where did that come from? Or maybe you're going to watch a game where he's going to make like 4 great reads out of the pinch post. You're going to be like, damn, the playmaking. At some point, he's going to have to put it together. My expectation is that this could work out very beautifully for the Raptors because I don't think he's going to put it together before his rookie contract expires. And because he's on a two-way, I believe it's a 2-year deal. So once they've had like a good feel for him, I would lock him up for like 3, 4 years and just let it go.